Alright, a very good afternoon, Twitch and YouTube fans from Captain Naps once again. Helps if I mute my other screen, which was up for the volume check. Welcome back to another leg of a pilot's life from Simbit World. Today we are here in Saskatoon, as you can probably see written on all the jet bridges there. Those of you that were paying attention to the end of the last stream, I did not have this set up correctly. This is the SimAddons Saskatoon. When you start to have too many add-on airports, you forget what airports you have. This is Saskatoon. I did not have the SimAddons Saskatoon showing up because I had the FTX Global Airports showing up, which was a much lower quality rendition. This is a much nicer version of Saskatoon. I forgot that this was even available. I thought that the FTX Global Freeware was the only Saskatoon that I had. So I apologize to SimAddons for not showing off their beautiful scenery, because it is really quite a nice rendition of this airport here. It looks a lot better than the FTX Global version. No offense to Orbex, but with the freeware, they're putting in some effort. It's better than a default airport, but it's not all that much better in a lot of cases. So here we go with a much nicer looking airport, and it does look a lot better. So today we are doing episode 12. This is the final episode of A Pilot's Life from Simbit World here for Season 2. This is going to be my last flight here with Encore on the Majestic Dash 8. We're going to move on to a new company for my next season, and I'm not going to reveal what it is. I'm going to save that till the end of this show. I'm pretty excited though. I did get some job offers this week, and they made me excited. One in particular I think is going to fit in really nicely. Not what I was expecting, but when I looked into it, I said, you know what, this is going to fit really nicely into what we're trying to do here. So that's what we're doing right now. But first, we've got to finish this episode. And for anybody who's watching, stay tuned, because this is going to be a fun one. I decided to try and spice things up a little bit, so we're going to have an in-flight emergency. Normally, you don't plan on having in-flight emergencies unless it's for current training in the simulator. But today, just to spice things up, we've had a lot of back and forth. You can't really trigger the failures in the Dash 8 randomly. You have to go and trigger them. It's sort of designed a little bit to be a sim aircraft, a training aircraft, in that the failures are triggered when the instructor wants them triggered. So today, for sake of interest, to keep things a little bit spicy, we're going to actually trigger a failure while we're en route. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, just to deal with it the way we deal with it, and go with the deal with the fallout of that failure. So we're not going to talk too much about that anymore. We're going to keep going with what we're doing today. But what we are doing today is the final leg of Season 2. And if we go into Simbit World of Pilot's Life, you're going to see here that the current flight is Saskatoon, where we are right now, right back to Calgary, back to home base Calgary. This is where we're based for this airline, and so that's where we're going to return our airplane at the end of this series. We're going to stop in Calgary, and we're going to go ahead and quit our job in Calgary. So that's our flight for today, Saskatoon to Calgary. It's a fairly straightforward flight as well, across the prairies. Nothing too much exciting, scenery-wise at least. There is the Navigraph route as well depicted, Saskatoon. It's pretty much a straight shot with a little departure and then into the arrival in Calgary, straight in. Don't know what runways we're using at all. Haven't even gone into it that far yet, but we're just going to go ahead and fly that flight, get back to Calgary, and this will end it. It's not a very long flight. It's about an hour flight back. It's not the best day in Calgary though right now. If you have a quick glance at the bottom of the screen there, the weather in Calgary, 1 3/4 miles right now in light snow. It's a snowy day out on the prairies. It's -2. It's -5 here in Saskatoon, but it is clear skies, at least in Saskatoon. But in Calgary, it's still snowing. Unfortunately, the scenery will probably be snowing, but then it'll be green underneath. Nothing much we can do about it. So that is our final leg of Season 2 of A Pilot's Life here. So, as always, we're going to be flying this here with the FS2 crew, as you can see up here in the corner of the screen. And without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in that flight deck. And nothing much is happening in the flight deck yet. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and go right to the power-up checklist here for the Dash 8. No, that's not the one. That's the one. Flight deck power-up checklist. Read and do. Aircraft flight log, we'll say, is checked. Circuit breakers. Checked and checked. Landing gear is down, and radar is off. Wouldn't want to power the airplane up with that on. Someone would get a very unpleasant surprise if they were standing in front of the airplane. Batteries, master, main, aux, and standby all on. And I hope the volume's okay. If anyone has a problem with the volume, let me know. It's fairly quiet inside the airplane until we actually get the airplane running. You just hear the whooshing of some air. Let's see here. So batteries are on, main bus tie is tied, and the engine intake bypass doors are going to open. Position lights on. Flight deck displays. They should all be coming to life. Do need to turn on the arc dews. Standby PTU pumps are off. The emergency brake is on. And external power. As you can see, the GPU is there. It's plugged in. And we should be able to do a quick little... And immediately you hear things happen. You saw lights flash here. Everything's coming on. Those are now open, which means we do have external power successfully established, even if we can't see it on the screen. The fact that all the systems are running with the external power is a good indicator that the external power is on successfully. Once the Copilot's MFD comes up, you'll see the message on there on the electrical screen as well. Main and landing gear nose doors pull.
Bank angle.
And safety equipment and documents will say everything has been checked. There's the fire extinguisher, PPE, gear pins will be in there, and the crash axe, the flashlights and the crash axe usually behind the captain's seat. Don't trust the FO to have access to the crash axe. FMS initialized. Yes, we've got it initialized. Nav database expires on the 22nd of April. That's still another week or so away, so we're good. And that's basically it for the flight deck power-up checklist is complete. Okay, and we can go ahead and get this guy ready here. So as always, we'll do a quick little setup here. I guess the first thing we should do before we do anything else is just have a quick weather check here in Saskatoon winds-wise. We're looking at 350 at 12. So we could do departure off 33, even so that's a 7,000 foot runway. I think we can probably do a flap 5 takeoff from any of these runways. So I'm going to go ahead and brief him on a flap 5 departure. We're going to depart from a gate. No as the X, that's fine. Heading cell is fine. And de-ice level 1 is fine. Departure type SID. Again, we're going to do the RTOP 83 takeoff here. And bleeds on. Concerns not. Yeah, we'll do that. That should be fine for today.
Hey, Captain. How are you today?
I am good. Alright, so FS2 crew is primed up and are ready to go. And without further ado, we're going to start going through our overhead flows here to make sure everything's set up, and we'll send the FO out. Hey buddy, go do the walk around. Come on, go. Get out, get out. Alright, yeah, so we'll go through the overhead panel as always. We're not going to do 24-hour system checks today because we did them on the flight to Saskatoon. The assumption would be this was a turn. It shouldn't really be powered. The airplane shouldn't be powered down, but I find that I cannot load this airplane anymore from a scenario. I have to restart every time. So the default startup is cold and dark, so be it. I have to do cold and dark every time. So electrical panel, all the batteries are on, the generators are on, main bus tie is tied, external power is on. Ice protection, everything's off. The intake bypass doors are open right now. Lights we don't need. Cabin altitude is indicating roughly field elevation. That's good. Flight recorder is normal. Fire protection system here. We've got the handles are in. All just green lights illuminated. No white lights except for the APU valve, which is shut, which is fine. We don't need any lights because it's daytime today. APU we're not going to use. Engine start switches. Everything's normal. No engine is being started right now. Cabin altitude control is closed. Auto. No man diff is in the middle, and landing altitude will set that when we're en route. The position lights are the only thing we've got on right now, which is good. Emergency lights we can arm so that we're ready for when we start boarding passengers. No smoking sign can go on, and the fast seatbelt sign, of course. We only turn that on once the fueling is done. Let's go ahead and check on the fueling. And for that, we're going to need my, first of all, my SimBrief flight plan to check on how much fuel we need. Where is it? Here it is. So here's my SimBrief flight plan. So the block fuel for today, 8,200. Look at this. We're taking 40 minutes of extra fuel today to Calgary with us.
I'm out for the walk around.
Okay. The reason being, there is some on and off snow shower, so I want to give us lots of fuel to play with. I don't think we're going to be load limited here out of Saskatoon, really, so it's going to be pretty heavy takeoff because we got a fair amount of extra fuel, but we want to make sure we have some time to play with fuel before we to do, missed approach if necessary, hold for a little bit, and try again before we head off to our alternative, Edmonton. Wouldn't want to end this last leg with an overshoot, so. Alright. So we need 8,100 essentially for this trip. Where is my... There it is. Weight and balance. 8,200, same as what we brought here. And the other thing I need from SimBrief, of course, is how much we're going to burn on the way there. Again, about 2,500, about the same. There's the flight out here, more or less. While we have this page open, we can also quickly put in the loading data. So we got 73 passengers today. So we'll just put them in the back. Calculate and send to the flight sim, and we're done. And now we have 8,200 pounds on board, close enough for me. And I will be right back. I just gotta go check on one thing. Alright guys, back with you. Sorry about that. Just had to check on one thing. Yeah, so we were going through the overhead panel. We did the weight and balance, we did the fuel, we got the 8,200 pounds loaded down.
Hi guys, do you mind if we start boarding now?
Yes. Yes.
Thanks, I'll be back with the load sheet later.
Okay, what happened to my GSX? I had GSX. Vehicles are there, but it does not want to respond to me anymore. Some days it just doesn't like to respond. It did respond earlier. There we go. Let's request boarding, please. $73 passengers. Sure, we'll do Air North. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so we did the fuel reporting. Let's see here. So the fuel is done. So we can turn on the no smoking light. We gotta test the advisory lights. I get everything is turned on that needs to be on. All the bulbs are working. Nothing's burnt out. There's certain ones on this plane, especially, that seem to burn out more than others. I don't know why. Certain things like to burn out a lot. Test the caution and warning light system. That also seems to work. Gonna leave it in bright for today because it's daytime. Alright, temperature controls should start at the 12. Actually, this guy we put all the way to FA control. Packs are on auto, the bleeds are off, the recirc fans on, and the generators are on for the AC side. There we go. Alright, continuing right along, we're going to go ahead and start setting up for our departure here. So, departure with the winds. We're going to probably be off 33 here in Saskatoon. Unfortunately, as much as I'm logged on to the VATSIM network, there's no ATC this afternoon. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty used to it at this point. I'm going to just say, what do we flight plan here? Are we flight plan Saskatoon 8 or do we flight plan a specific one? Yeah, no, we just flight plan Saskatoon 8. Alright, so Saskatoon 8, and it is just runway heading. And just to go ahead and check the taxi charts here, because the big concern, of course, is length, 6,200 feet. Again, just to confirm, yeah, I think they're flap 5, 6,200 feet. Of course, you'd have, like, pre-calculated numbers from your dispatcher, most likely, in the real world, but we're sort of self-dispatchers, so this is what we're doing. Alright, so we said that. Alright, so, go back to our majestic control panel really quickly here, and check out that our takeoff weight's going to be about 64,000, so we're going to get 64,000 pound numbers. It seems like every takeoff in this plane is gross weight. SimBrief always plans us with like 65 or greater passengers. It doesn't seem to have an option for like light loads ever. It's funny because like in other aircraft it seems to balance it out a little bit more. You know what, we're going to go with flap 15 on this one. Let's change that up really quickly here. We'll do the reduced 83, but we'll do flap 15 because I just feel like it's not a hugely short runway, but with combination with the airport elevation, I'm a little bit concerned about the takeoff distance. It shouldn't be a concern, but we'll do it as flap 15, and that will ensure. I have no doubt that at flap 15 we will get off that runway even at reduced 83% takeoff power. All right, so hitting up 32, and 156. So just off my takeoff and landing data cards for 64,000 pound takeoff, 22, 22, 22, 32, and 56. There we go. Alright, and again, we'll go back to our Navigraph charts to get some more important information here, crucial information. The runway heading for 33 is 330 precisely, so we'll plan that. And the top altitude for the initial climb is 5,000, or flight plan altitude.
Everything looks good.
Alright, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and set 5,000. And we're going to set 330 precisely for the heading. Alright, 330 is set. The altimeter here today, 3020. And then, what am I missing here? Obviously this has to be in nav mode. I'm missing the MDA, that's what I'm looking for. So the field elevation here, looks like it's 1650 right now. You can always confirm that from your chart. Airport elevation 1654, rounded up to 17, so our flap retraction today is going to be 2700. So we got to roll this all the way up to 2700, which is good because that'll be not so far to roll up to Calgary, which is going to be like 4,000, 5,000, something like that. So there's 17, so we have to go all the way to 27 for our acceleration, our flap retraction and acceleration altitude. There we go, 2700. Push the go around button, and then you get wings level go around. I do heading alt cell because that's the airline I was taught. For some reason, the FS2 crew, he likes to do it on the runway or after takeoff, which seems a little more challenging. Anyways, one more thing to be forgotten rather than check it ahead of time. Anywho, we gotta set this to 3020 as well. There we go, 3020. And gear is down, flaps for immediate return will say 15. The flight control disconnects are in. We don't need anything up on the MFD right now. All these switches everything is off. Engine switches, propeller controls, test the CVR, elevator trim. It's just at the end of the takeoff range there. The brake is set, obviously control locks are on, disc, fuel off, flaps are up. The aileron and rudder trim are also centered while we're down here looking at the ARC2.
Pull up.
We're going to go ahead and set that to Unicom, so if anybody is around on the VATSIM network, we can hear them. Probably a good idea to crank that volume as well. And wow, he's doing a full test, isn't he?
Too low. Gear.
Testing every single oral warning within the GPWS system might be a little bit excessive, buddy. I don't think we need.
Glide slow.
Don't think we need to check all of those.
Bank angle.
But once you've pressed that button twice, you can't stop that test. It runs the whole test until it's done. You can't stop it. So you have to be careful. In any of the airplanes with the GPWS, press the test button once and once only, unless you want to hear about 4 minutes of various call-outs.
40.
Testing every call-out in the
30.
system.
20.
Okay, my flow is pretty much done here, so the only thing I have left to do now is, of course, set up the FMS.
Caution. Terrain. Caution.
And so we'll pop that out here, as we always do, right beneath the FS2 crew for you guys to follow along. What I'm going to do is the easy way here, with my good old AviaWorks remote CDU on my tablet, which is just so much nicer for typing. My wrist starts to get sore if I use the mouse for too long. So, let's go ahead and put in our flight plan here today. We've already checked the date. Flight plan. Sometimes when it doesn't want to work the first time, there we go. Just hit refresh on it. Sometimes the tablet freezes a tiny little bit. Alright, so it's pretty straightforward today. Our route is Saskatoon to Calgary. We can do a departure from Saskatoon. We're going to depart runway 33, number 4. As I said, we're going to do the Saskatoon 8, number 1. Off runway 33 is the only transition we could possibly do here anyways from 33. So it seems a little redundant, but anyways. Got manual leg of 330, and then after that manual leg, then we're going to go ahead and set some stuff here. So OVATA is our first fix. So we'll leave that no link in there because it breaks up the fact that we obviously are on a vector heading, and we can't go past that until we actually consciously make the decision to go direct to the next point. So no links can be very useful. Understand when to put them in there, and they can be very useful to you. So Borix, UDPAV, and finally Burko. Alright, and then we do our arrival into Calgary. Quick check of Calgary weather here. So they're indicating the RVR on 3.5 left, so one would assume that's what they're using as an active arrival runway, and with the winds from the northeast at 16 knots, that makes sense. So 3.5 left is the plan right now. We're going to be doing the tow tub for arrival, which I hope I have that all indicated correctly at the bottom of the screen there. Yes, I do. Okay, good. I did update the overlay. Tow tub 4, and I'm going to do the 3.5 left transition because I find this part is the harder part. And then we're going to do the ILS 3.5 left. Flight plan. And let's just check the fixes after tow tub to make sure we're not missing any. So we'll recheck it again when we're en route, but just a really quick check right now, because it's just easier to check these things, especially because I feel like something's going to go wrong on this flight, and I'd rather be prepared for everything that's going to happen. So this one, the tow tub forward, 3.5 left and right. We're going to join it at Burko, and then it goes to tow tub. Yeah, Burko, tow tub, Ebdik, Libux, and Matov. Yes, they're all there. Alright, so those are all in there. The flight plan is all in there. Perfect. Quickly skip to the fuel page. Go to my sim brief flight plan here. Fuel page. Everything comes right off here. So alternate will require 1451 pounds today. Our 45-minute holding fuel, 1335. And extra, I'm going to put 0. We've got lots of extra, but we don't want that considered as fuel we have to have. We want that showing as extra. It's a strange thing the way this Universal FMS is set up, and I don't like it. Alright, ZFW, we would grab from our paperwork, which is right here. ZFW today, 57,999. 57,999. And the fuel on board right now is at 8,200, which is fine. It's 100 over what was planned, that's fine. Gives us a gross weight of 66,199. That's not fine because that puts us over max weight here. Wait, something's not right. Yeah, 65,199. What? Something's not right. Something does not add up here. Our zero fuel weight is 82, so it's not matching here. So we got our zero fuel weight here of 82. I'm just going to get rid of this for now. 8,200 pounds plus our ZFW of 57,999. That does add up to 66,199. So why do I have here a lower takeoff mass indicator? Oh, I put the max in there. I was supposed to put this 150. That's why. Okay, see? And if something doesn't make sense in aviation, track it down. Don't just dismiss it. 64,036. Now everything adds up. So often there's a reasonable check needs to be done for simple things like just making sure that the numbers all make sense. When your flight plan is revised, when they tell you have less passengers, does your zero fuel weight go down? If not, ask questions. Why did it not go down? Is something wrong? Is something not updated? There's always a you should always be doing a reasonable check of all the numbers you get. Anything that comes along, make sure it seems reasonable. You know, you don't have to get out a calculator and check the precise math, but make sure everything sort of makes sense in the scheme of things. Like, we're here pretty much at gross weight. We are taking a lot of fuel today, 8,200 pounds. That's a fair amount of fuel for the Dash 8. And we have a full bus, pretty much, 73 people. So, yes, it makes sense that we are pretty close to gross weight. So always ask yourself, like, do these things make sense? Like, if you know you only got like 40 people, and for some reason you're at gross weight, you got to say, wait a minute, did I calculate a number incorrectly here? Did I input something wrong? Maybe just you know, instead of 55,836, you put 58,536. Just switch 2 digits around. Very easy to do. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes, especially when we're just copying things from one area to another. It's possible to make mistakes. If something doesn't add up, follow up on it. Okay, enough ranting about that. Carry on with Calgary. I believe it's -6 right now for mountain time, so it's 12:04 in Calgary right now. And it'll take us about an hour to get there. And the reason why, I'll show you this page. I don't think I've showed you guys this page too much before, but fuel page 3 of 5 in the dash on the FMS is a really useful page. Because it shows you some really useful information. It's not going to show it right now when we're on the ground, but in flight it's going to show us how much fuel we've used. It's going to make a calculation of how much fuel is required, and then it's going to determine how much we need overhead Calgary, right over here. And then it subtracts the reserves and it gives us an excess number, and the excess fuel number is great. That is the amount of fuel you have above and beyond the minimum you need to divert to your alternate. If you put the extra fuel back on page 1 here, put all your extra fuel in there, then it's never going to show you as having excess fuel. This excess fuel is great because once you are in flight, it shows you how much excess fuel do I have when I reach my destination, and you can say, okay, I have 1,000 pounds of fuel to kill before I have to defer it, so I can hold for 30 minutes. You can really quickly make a calculation. Dash 8, the ballpark figure, and this is just very rough math, but 2,000 pounds per hour. You can estimate 2,000 pounds per hour, and that will give you a rough estimate of how much you are going to need to hold or how long you can hold given a certain amount of fuel. That's a bit of an overestimate. Most of the time the dash is not going to be burning quite that much. But if you can do 2,000 pounds an hour, the math is super easy, and in fact you're probably going to get a little bit longer than that out of the tank. Okay, the FMS is all set up, so we're going to go to the DTO page here, so we're ready for our leg here. And we only got 9 minutes left. Wow, that went really quickly there. Probably because I stepped away for a second. So, we got everything all set up. Let's do this. Are you ready for the takeoff briefing? Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
Okay, so he's ready. In the event of any major problem or abnormality prior to V1, we'll abort the takeoff. Above V1, we'll continue at V2 until we reach 2,700 feet, then accelerate to V5, retract the flaps, and continue at V climb to 5,000 feet is the SID altitude, and that'll be a good altitude for avoiding all the obstacles today. The departure today is going to be, first of all, the taxi out here is going to be pretty straightforward. We're here on the terminal. We're going to taxi out down Bravo and out to runway 33 here, so straightforward takeoff. Occasional pair jump activity, apron 1 scheduled, 53rd right-hand circuits. Okay, yeah, nothing too crazy here. Discretionary oversteer required for all aircraft. Alpha and apron 2, that's fine. Doesn't affect us at all. So the SID itself here, the Saskatoon 8 departure, 10-3 Delta, effective the 30th of January 2020. Safe altitude 100 miles is 4,500. Runway 15 not authorized when this area is active. We're not doing it, not applicable to us. The MSA in our sector is 3,200 feet after departure. Runway 33, climb heading 330 for vectors.
Hi guys,
Maintain
here's
5,000.
the load sheet for you. Have a safe flight.
Thank you. Thank you. Where was I here? Maintain 5,000 flight plan altitude, whichever is lower. Expect radar vectors to follow the flying route. Expect clearance to flight plan altitude, flight level within 10 minutes after departure. So 5,000 set and 330 set. 5,000 and the heading 330. Yeah, that's all set. Yeah, weather's not an issue here. Terrain 3,200 feet in our departure sector will be fine, and operational. I got really nothing. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Before start checklist. Did GSX ever board us? Boarding completed, yeah. I didn't even hear it boarding. It's been really quiet. Just gonna do a quick little volume check over here because it seems like that was really quiet. I didn't remember hearing the boarding, or maybe I was just yakking too much. Nope. that louder than I should have. Sorry, guys. Trying to find a nice happy medium where everybody's happy here. Make sure everything is reasonably high volume. There we go. Hopefully you guys can hear everything nicely now. Before start checklist.
Stand by. Bridge and aid and checks flow.
Complete.
Complete. Gear pins. Stowed. Pre-flight checks.
Complete.
Complete. External power APU voltage.
On, checked 27 volts.
Circuit breakers.
Checked.
Checked. Escape hatch.
Closed.
Nose wheel steering.
Off.
Flight guidance control panel. Set. Fuel quantity 8206 pounds on board.
8,100 pounds required.
Hydraulic number 3 pressure.
Checked 0 psi.
Emergency brake pressure.
Park. Check.
Power levers.
Disc.
Condition levers.
Fuel off.
Emergency light switch.
Arm. Armed.
Fasten belt switch.
On.
On. Departure briefing.
Complete.
Complete. Before start, checklist complete.
I'm just going to kill the FMS down there, because you guys don't need to see it right now. But amazingly, we got it all done. It was getting kind of tight there, but we got her all done. We're ready to go. Get GSX ready to go here. No, we don't need
Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start until push completed and brakes set.
Alright guys, everyone's seated. We're all buttoned up and ready to go in the back.
Thank you.
If you need anything, just let me know.
Hello, Captain. We're ready for pushback.
Alright, we're quickly going to check here, make sure we're on the current flight page, so this does trigger automatically for us, which is important. Engine start checklist to the line.
Battery master main auxiliary standby.
Locking gear.
On.
Doors fueling lights.
Checked and out. Closed and out.
Any collision light.
Red.
Engine start checklist complete to the line.
Alright, I think we're ready, so below the line.
AP bleed.
Off.
Engine clear on 2.
Clear on 2.
Engine start checklist complete.
Start 2 for me, please.
Starting 2.
Click. Push. Alright, there goes the fuel flow, there goes everything else. Don't see anybody behind us
Departure
pushing
check
back.
completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes.
It's not a bad little scenery though, isn't it? Thank you, SimAddons. I totally forgot that this was not, that I had the scenery. Alright, that looks good. Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Please disconnect external power.
Roger, disconnecting the GPU.
Release parking brakes.
Probably get rid of that jet bridge too.
Captain, the GPU is now disconnected.
do that right at all, did I? Okay, but the generator's
Checked.
Release parking brakes. Commencing push. Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start until push completed and brakes set.
Start 1 for me, please.
Starting 1.
Just clear on 1. I'm just enjoying some external views. These are the last chance I can see the dash here, so... Not the last chance, but last one you're going to see in the stream for a while. Alright, that looks like a normal start. Pause you for a second. It's unfortunate that nose wheel doesn't move. It's okay. None of the wheels register the thing moving properly during the pushback. It's okay. It's a hard thing to do really well. Alright, back to work
Set
here.
parking brakes.
Waiting your confirmation for good engine start.
Oh, well, it's a good start, guys. You can go ahead and disconnect. Have a good day. I love the little flag there behind the terminal. It's a little, it's actually a pretty big flag. But anyways, from here it looks little.
Unlocking gear. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Perfect. Thanks. Have a good day. Alright, that is just associated with the engine start and the parking brake.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Alright. Thanks. Have a good day. Ignition levers up to max. Propellers unfeather and the engine accelerates to support them. After start checklist. He's got those flaps set. Just testing the rudder pedals. Then we can put on the nose steering. He doesn't take those off, which he should. And he's going to do the flight control check here in a second. There he goes. Make sure everything moves.
External power, APU.
Off.
Main bus tie.
Off.
Ice protection.
Checked level 1.
Checked. Level 1. Rudder travel.
Checked. Full travel. Full travel.
Nose wheel steering.
On.
Auto feather.
Auto feather select.
Engine rating.
Reduce takeoff power, 83%. Reduce takeoff power, 83% checked. 83% checked. 83% checked.
please.
Checked.
Flaps.
15 set and indicating.
15 set and indicating. Aux standby P2 pumps.
On.
On. Hydraulic pressure quantity.
Checked.
Checked. Hydraulic number 3 in elevator. Checked. Caution warning lights.
Checked.
Flight instruments radios.
Checked.
Checked. Altimeters.
3020 set and cross check.
3020 set and cross checked. After start checklist complete.
Alright, brakes off and away we go. Set taxi light to on.
Taxi light set to on.
Saskatoon traffic, Encore 3389 is at the terminal Saskatoon taxiing for departure runway 33 Saskatoon. $33.69 actually is the flight number. I think I said 89. My bad. We all make mistakes. I don't think anyone's out here anyways, so not really. There's one guy kind of bombing around VFR nearby, and there's an overflight way high above us, but nobody's really here, so probably nobody heard my call, and nobody knows that it was not the correct flight number anyways. Alright, so nobody coming down this taxiway. It's a pretty short taxi out here. But I will remember this time to wait until the cabin call's secure before I call for that before takeoff checklist. Oh, it'll be a shame to leave this FS2 crew when I finally have learned it well. Farewell, Saskatoon. There they are.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, they're securing the cabin.
Before takeoff checklist to the line. Before takeoff checklist to the line.
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
Pretty sure it's turn right here. Where's my taxi chart real quick? Yeah, don't go straight.
FA notification received. Takeoff briefing complete. Cabin PA complete. Condition levers.
Max.
Max. Trims.
3 set.
3 set. Takeoff warning test.
Tested.
Flight controls check free. Flight taxi.
Don't push the button. Flight. Flight.
Radar terrain. Transponder TCAS on alt. Before takeoff checklist complete to the line.
Alright, and I think we're just about ready to go. Before I take off, again, one quick check. Yes, the end flight button is the active button. Wouldn't want this flight not to be registered properly, so there we go. The ACARs, our pilot's life ACARs seems to be working properly. Look both ways. Alright, get the anti-collision to white. Saskatoon traffic, Encore 3369 is taking position runway 33 for departure. Straight out on the Saskatoon 8 with a westbound turn towards Calgary. Below the line.
Bleeds, min on. External lights on. Runway.
Runway 33, heading 330. Runway 33, heading 330.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Alright, lights are on. Takeoff. Check power. Takeoff. Check power.
Power checked. 80 knots.
Checked.
V1, rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up.
Gear up. Acceleration altitude.
Flap 0. IAS 200. Climb checklist to the line. Down too far, but we need to accelerate now. So we also need some rudder trim in there.
Climb checklist completed to the line.
Thank you. Autopilot on.
Autopilot's on. 1,000 to go. Alt cell.
2500.
Checked. Set flight level 220. Okay, he's doing that. Direct to the first fix. We're above the minimum sector altitude. Set nav mode. Select nav.
Nav selected.
L nav. And away we go. We're on our way, guys. Doesn't look like a very snowy, cold day here on the prairies, that's for sure. Looks nice and warm out here. But here we go, guys. Alright, we're on our way back to Calgary one last time. And in a couple minutes, I'm going to give you guys a chance to participate in this stream. I'm not usually hugely interactive. I try to answer whatever chats you guys give me, but I'm going to give you guys a chance to mess with me in just a couple minutes here, once we get this well underway here. So there goes Saskatoon back there. City of Saskatoon with the airport right there in front of it. And away we go. Looks like we're getting some wispy clouds here. So let's go ahead and turn on the prop heat as well. So we got level 2 now, and we are ready for whatever icing comes our way. One thing I need to do as well is sync up my my quadrant, my throttle quadrant to those condition levers. And we're on our way. Quick little check here. This is 1 hour and 28 right now. Hopefully we won't get too much headwind. We got mostly crosswind right now. Ooh, looks like we're above that first deck. Oh, I hope we don't get to... Hope we're not on top of the cloud deck the whole way there. It'll be a little boring if we are. Let's get that trimmed down a little better. Maybe that's a little better. Maybe almost too far now. That's why you do it in little spurts like that. You just give it just a little bit, just a half a second spurt, maybe a second spurt, and then wait and see where it sits. Don't give it a whole lot at once, or you'll end up just sending the rudder shooting over one side then the other. Very uncomfortable for everybody. Better to trim it in little short spurts in the Dash 8. Alright, just waiting to see us reach 10,000 feet above the airport, which was at 17. So 11,700. My math is failing me here. Perhaps some of this wonderful coffee will help perk up my brain. Because what is flying without coffee anyways? That would just be uncivilized. Below the line.
Climb checklist complete.
Checked. Okay guys, so we're through 12,000 feet here on our climb out from Saskatoon. Now, as I promised, I wanted to make things a little bit different, a little bit more exciting today. It looks like we might have a low visit arrival in Calgary anyway, so that might add a level of excitement, but I really wanted to do something kind of special for this last broadcast on the Dash 8 before we move on to my next phase of my career here. Weather's picked up a bit in Calgary now, it's 5 miles and snow's not even that bad anymore. So what I'm going to give you, those of you watching the channel, a chance to do is a chance to pick the failure. So I'm going to give you guys a poll here in the channel in 1 second, and I'm going to let you pick the failure here. Hopefully this works. This is actually the first time I've done a poll in this channel, so I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. Alright, so I got this poll running here. I hope it's running properly. I hope you guys who are watching are able to click on it through the chat window there. But I would like to see, so today we're going to do a failure of the hydraulic system. It's one of the more dramatic systems for a failure to occur in the Dash 8. And I felt it a bit appropriate considering that just about, what was it, 4 weeks ago, I released my hydraulics systems video for this airplane. So I picked 4 of the, I won't say the most common failures, probably the not very common failures in the hydraulic system, but four interesting failures that do have the capability of simulating a leak in the number 1 or number 2 system, or just simply a failure of the engine-driven pump in the number 1 or number 2 system. So I invite you guys to vote. The poll is going to be open for 10 minutes. 10 minutes from now, one of those things is going to happen. Whatever wins in the poll is going to happen. And if you guys don't vote on too much, then I may just pick something at random. So go ahead, guys. For those of you that are watching, pick something to happen to me. I wish you guys could trigger it without me even knowing, but obviously that's not possible. So I'm just going to give at least you guys the chance to interact by giving you the choice. Which failure is going to affect us? Test your knowledge of the hydraulic system. Which one do you think is going to provide the most interest for our arrival into Calgary? Once the poll ends, then we'll trigger it. Probably we'll be in cruise by then. We're cruising the day at 22,000. We're climbing at a good rate here, even though we've got a very heavy load. So I expect that yeah, we'll be in cruise in probably 5 minutes anyways, and then we'll see what happens. I'm just going to zoom out this map a little bit here. There we go, there's a VATA. If I zoom out all the way, you can probably almost see all the way to Calgary there. There's the start of the arrival in Calgary, just a little over 200 miles away. And as we're climbing up here, we're down to an hour 13, and that's going to keep on falling. Mostly a crosswind here today. It's not much of a headwind as well, which is kind of nice. Oftentimes going westbound, you get that headwind. Today we're not getting much. Bit of a cloudy day on the prairies. As we head west, it's probably going to get worse because there's snow showers all around. Edmonton also had a chance of snow showers. It wasn't as bad as Calgary though, so it still makes a suitable alternate. Alright, here we come to transition. (2992) set cross-checked.
2992.
Alright. Transition is done. Farewell to the prairies and farewell to Saskatoon. Here we come, Calgary. Home away from home, as it were, for the time being. I gotta say, though, I have really enjoyed this streaming process so far. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys are enjoying watching as much as I'm enjoying streaming. I know you guys don't watch all the videos and sit with me for the whole stream a lot of times, but I hope that the parts that you are here for, you are enjoying. I try to provide not only you know, some interest through flying and trying to provide an insight into you know, how a real world airline operation kind of works, but you know, just a little bit of fun as well. And I hope we have some why is the sim freezing? But I hope you've enjoyed some of my discussions and commentaries. I made it pretty long. I didn't realize it was quite as long as it was. A good 20-minute commentary on the release, the fairly sudden, unexpected release of Prepared version 5 there. I won't say it was unexpected, but it was unexpected in the sense that nobody knew the release date, and all of a sudden here it is, like a week out. You know, like there was there was a little bit of talk about it behind the scenes, but nothing very forward out there. And then it suddenly really kind of came, at least I thought it sort of came out of left field. Wasn't expecting it, so it was kind of caught me off guard. I had a lot of stuff to say about it, and I hope you know, you guys had a chance to listen to some of it at least. Try to provide some interesting commentary as we go here. I am excited for the next season. I will continue this because you guys are watching these shows, and as long as you guys keep watching these shows, I'm going to keep putting them out there. I'm having fun doing it. I would do it by myself, sitting here, you know, just cruising around, but I think it's as much fun to share with other people. I enjoy sharing this with other people. I enjoy sharing this this hobby with other people. I think it's a lot of fun, and so I'm happy to do it with you guys. You know, having you guys sort of watch and ride along, shotgun as it were, sit jump seat as we do these flights. So I would do them by myself without you guys, but I think it's just as much fun to do them, you know, for an audience. So I'm going to continue to do so. I'm going to continue to answer questions. You know, if you guys have questions about the Dash 8 or about anything in particular related to aviation or flight simming or just anything in general, please feel free to ask. I do my best to answer questions that come in the chat window there. I don't see too much happening today, but that's fine. We're down to about 5 minutes left in this poll, so guys, for those of you that are just joining the stream, please vote on what failure you'd like to see happen in this airplane next. There's going to be a hydraulic failure that's going to happen after we reach cruise here in a little bit, and we're going to deal with it like a bunch of professionals. So I think it's going to add an interesting, a very different dimension anyways, and I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm also really excited for the next phase of my career. I've already kind of decided what it's going to be, but I'm excited to share it with you, so stick with me to the end of the stream because I'm not going to tell you until we get to the end. I can't tell you now because a pilot's life is locked out while you're in flight. All it does is show the current flight screen. It won't let you do anything else, so I couldn't show you right now even if I wanted to, but I will show you what we're planning to do after this for accepting a new job, moving off the Encore Dash 8. It's been a ton of fun. This airplane is a lot of fun, it really is. But I might just pause it for this. It's been a lot of fun flying this airplane. It really has. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. But I want a little bit more variety. I've visited, you know, I think at this point now, if I was to do another month of schedules with Encore, you'd start to see a lot of repetition in the airports. You'd start to see me visiting the same airports over and over again, which is the way the airline life is, really, honestly. It's a lot of repetition. You go to the same set of airports again and again and again. But that doesn't make for much interest on the channel, I don't think. You know, and it's funny because you can do these flights, different flights, you know, and you never end up doing the same flight twice, regardless. There's always something different, some new quirk problem that comes along. Something doesn't go quite according to plan, and you cannot predict the stuff in this business that will go wrong. Why did it not? Oh, he's at 270. I need to check my FO next time.
1,000 to go. Alt cell.
Alright, so we'll go VS minus 1,000. He's set. This guy. He said 270 instead of 220, and I did not catch that. I did not monitor what he did. Nor did I hear him read it back, actually. But again, I should be listening. I should be, especially as the captain, it's always incumbent upon the captain to be focused on what is happening. What is, you know, what is happening in the flight deck, regardless of whether it's you doing it, whether you're the pilot flying and you're doing it, or whether the FO is doing something for you. It is forever incumbent upon the captain to monitor the situation, alt-star, and determine who, you know, determine that things are happening the way they're supposed to. At the end of the day, the FO, I won't say they have no responsibility, but at the end of the day, they essentially have very little responsibility. It is all on the captain to make sure that the airplane is being flown safely and everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. And ultimately, that responsibility falls on the captain's shoulders in the left seat here. So always watch your FO. Make sure they're doing what you think they're doing. Alt. Alright, I think that's about as much airspeed as we're going to get out of this puppy right now. Let's go ahead and cruise check it up, which is just basically set the condition levers to 850 for cruise, and away we go. And we've got 47 minutes to top and drop. We don't, or 47 minutes to Calgary, I should say. Probably have about 20 minutes to top and drop at this point. Just waiting about one more minute here. I've got my poll pre-programmed here on my Twitch channel, and it's not quite closed yet. LTRM crew said they couldn't see the poll. Did you find it now? Because honestly, this is the first time I've ever done it. I have not done it before, so if you don't see it, hit refresh on the page and see if it reloads. It should be in the chat window, I think. I honestly have never done it before in my channel. This isn't something new I'm trying. So, yeah, I hope it works. Got about 1 minute left, I think, before the poll expires. It's limited to time limited to 10 minutes, which is the most I think I can do. So I hope you get it in there. It's a new way of perhaps adding some interactivity. To answer your question, I don't want to give I'm sorry, I couldn't find it. Honestly, I don't know. I've never seen. I've never done it before, so I'm sorry it didn't work. But it is sadly now it's over. And I did get one person. Looks like one person voted. So hey, the poll worked. Okay, yeah, honestly, I don't use iOS at all, so I don't know how Twitch looks in there. It was supposed to be the built-in Twitch poll, and it didn't. If it didn't work properly, I'm sorry for that. I did get one vote anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and sit here, and something is gonna happen. Alright. I am moving on to something greater than the Dash 8. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet. I'm going to save that for the end of the flight. I'm going to kind of keep a little bit of a lid on it for now. I did research it a little bit yesterday, and I decided I think it's going to be a great next move. I think it's going to be really kind of fun. Different pace, I think, definitely from Encore. Oh my gosh, we have a caution light. Number 1 hide ISO valve, number 1 engine hide pump. Interesting. Something's going on with the hydraulic system. Now roll spoiler inboard hide and number 1 red hide. Uh-oh, we got cascading failures here. This is one thing about the hydraulic system in the Dash 8, is when things happen on the hydraulic system in the Dash 8, the first thing to do is check your system status here on the MFD, and it'll really quickly reveal what's happening. So number 2 looks like we've got some stuff happening here. Number 2 is fine, but number 1 system is obviously giving us the problems because it's the number 1 system that's flagging everything here. And it looks like number 1 system has no pressure, but it also has no quantity. So it's not a failure necessarily of the engine pump. It looks like we have lost all hydraulic fluid in the number 1 system. So we have a number 1 hydraulic system leak in this airplane. So the most important thing, of course, when this happens is to make sure one person is flying the airplane. So normally the person who's flying would continue flying the airplane. However, since it's a single pilot environment and FS2 crew is not designed to handle emergencies, I've obviously got to do both. Fortunately, we're in cruise. Things are happening fairly, I won't say the slow pace, but things are not happening particularly quickly right now. So I'm going to go to my QRH. As the pilot not flying right now, or the pilot monitoring, I would call for the appropriate checklist, which is the number 2 hydraulic system failure checklist, which is also known as the loss of all fluid from hydraulic system number 2. Pulling out my actual QRH here, 12.8. Alright. So a loss of all fluid from number 2 hydraulic system. That's not the one, that's number 1. I'm reading the wrong checklist, and this is why you always read the name of the checklist, make sure it matches your symptoms, and the Dash 8 checklists are very well written in that, again, they also... Didn't mean to do that. Obviously pressed the wrong button there for a second. In that they list the various lights to look for to confirm that you are looking at the correct checklist. So, loss of all fluid from our number 1 hydraulic system, you should see the number 1 engine hide pump caution light, and the number 1 hide ISO valve caution light, and the engine 1 hide valve closed advisory light, which means this one up here at the top, the white light for hydraulics, indicates that that valve closed successfully. and no quantity indicated on number 1 hydraulic quantity, which we've got. So that is a fairly good confirmation that we are looking at the correct checklist here. So let's go ahead and go through it. Hide number 3 ISO valve open. So it looks like it's already come on its own. We're going to push the button in to confirm and make sure that it remains on and it doesn't trip off for any silly reason. Standby hide press, norm. So standby hide press is already norm, and we're going to leave it. We're not going to push it in because it's not going to do anything because there's no fluid in the number 1 system now. If flap at 0 or 5, GPWS Flap Override, press. Alright. GPWS Flap Override switch. We don't have a GPWS Flap Override switch. That's another airplane. That was a different version. At 1,000 feet AGL, autopilot disengage. Okay, so at 1,000 feet above the ground, we're going to disengage the autopilot. Lost services. So this is the fun one now. Flap. We have no more flaps on this aircraft. We're going to have to do a 0 flap landing in Calgary. Normal and anti-skid brakes. We do not have normal and anti-skid brakes. We only have two things left to slow us down on the runway. We have the parking brake, which we're going to have to use. Unfortunately, it's not very good in the simulator. It's much better in real life. And in real life, it is it's linear. As you slowly pull it, you will get more and more braking force until you lock it with park brake, which will probably lock the tires. So you normally would kind of just pull a little bit until you feel the airplane decelerating, but not enough to lock the tires. The other thing, of course, we can use is reverse thrust on the runway, so we'll probably have to use that as well, which generally I use that. So long runway in Calgary, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. We're also lost the inboard roll spoiler, the elevator number 1, and the rudder number 1 system. So we've lost the inboard roll spoilers. There's no getting around that. We have a little bit of degraded roll control, and we'll have a little bit less braking action because the spoilers will not deflect as ground spoilers after landing. Elevator number 1, that's fine because we have the number 2 system still powering the elevator, and we have the number 3 system that's kicked in to power the elevator. And rudder number 1 system again. The number 2 system is still on there, powering the rudder. I can even do a test if I wanted to, just to prove it. I can deflect the rudder pedals and watch the rudder is still moving. It's not particularly comfortable. Wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that. Ooh, especially at 250 knots. But it did work. Landing considerations. So here it says emergency braking only and approach and VREF speed. So for flap 0, we got to pick a speed of 1.23 times VSR plus 10. So we're going to have, and if we have increased ref speed on, then we got to pick that one plus 25. So we'll pick that speed in a few minutes. Landing distance factor for flap 0, using the flap 35 chart, we've got to do a flap factor of 2.65, which means 2.65 times the flap 35 landing distance. And a bunch of cautions here at the end. Caution, avoid pitch attitudes in excess of 6 degrees at touchdown. Very easy to do when you've got 0 flap because you tend to want to resist, you tend to want to flare the airplane a little bit, but you can't because it's at the lower speeds, at flap 0, you're already at 6 degrees, so very little flare. Do not select power levers below flight idle until indicated airspeed is below 150 knots, so we can't even start using reverse until we slow to 150 knots. An excessive application of emergency braking can result in skidding and tire failure, so there is no anti-skid built into the parking brake. If you pull it on hard enough, it will lock the wheels, you will break the tires, you will pop those tires. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. That is the end of the number 1 hydraulic system failure checklist. Alright, so the system is, the emergency is handled. If we had ATC online, if we had VATSIM ATC online right now, which we still don't, we would call them up and advise that we have an emergency. Say we've had a hydraulic system failure and we're going to have to land in Calgary, very possibly stop on the runway. For now, we're going to plan on that. If I can try to taxi this airplane, I will. It's going to be very challenging, but it's not going to be impossible because we still have nose wheel steering. We still have disking to help keep us going a little slower, so it's not going to be terribly pretty, but it should work. But in real life, you'd probably stop on the runway and just get towed to the gate rather than try and challenge yourself with a no-brake taxi to the gate and risk more damage to the airplane if something doesn't happen right. Okay, so you notify the ATC. You notify the people in the back. So you call the flight attendants, you advise them whatever emergency you have. I think FS2 crew will let me do that, but I'm not going to worry about it. But you tell them about what emergency you have, and then you brief the passengers. You tell them that we've had failure of one of the aircraft systems. The aircraft is going to have to perform a faster approach than normal, and will most likely stop on the runway and get evaluated by airport service vehicles while we're still on the runway. The last thing, of course, is you notify company. If you had a dispatch frequency, you can call them directly on that. If you're outside of range, you would probably use the ACAR system in your FMS to send them a message, let them know what's happened so that they can also put their emergency action plans into place and make sure that people are there, the resources you need are there. When you get to your destination, they may also provide advice on where they'd like you to go. Because Calgary is a home base, usually they want you to kind of head towards a home base if it's reasonable, just because maintenance action can be taken there a lot easier. I mean, if you're far away from a maintenance base, so be it. They'll deal with it wherever they can. But if you can head to home base, if you're on your way to home base, you continue to home base, or turn around and go back to home base, easier on the company because then the maintenance is there to meet the aircraft. Lots of considerations. One thing we're going to have to consider as well is that it's going to take us a little while to get set up here, so we're definitely going to start setting this up now. First thing I'm going to set up for our arrival into Calgary here. Looks like they're still favoring 3.5 left, so we're not going to change too much there, but we are going to go ahead and check the performance speeds and the landing numbers on this today. So let me just pause this while I pull out my QRH again. So I have to go to my performance section to get my approach speeds. Landing go-around speeds. Here we are. Alright. Speed versus weight. Okay, so again, going back to my checklist here, I've got it still earmarked here. So flap 0, we're going to use the 1.23 VSR plus 10. So one thing we do need, before we can make these calculations, we do need to have a good idea of what our weight is going to be in Calgary. This is one time when weight's going to hurt us, because higher weight's going to mean a higher speed that we're going to have to bleed off on the runway. So showing Calgary at about 61,000, maybe 61,500. I've got 60 and 62, so we're going to have to round it to 62 here. So VSR is 1.23, which is 154, and then plus 10. So 164 is our rough speed here. So our approach speed, 1.23 VSR, is going to be 154. So that, or sorry, is 154 plus 10 is 164. So our approach speed today is going to be 164. That's a pretty fast speed for the dash. That's fast even for a jet. And this is where we start to see a lot of runway being eaten up here. Is 164. And then, can I calculate a go-around speed here? I don't even have a go-around speed for 0 flap indicated here. So we're going to have to assume it would be the same at 164 at this point. It probably would be a little bit less. Yes, for those of you just joining us, we have suffered from a #1 hydraulic system failure. Total failure, we've lost all hydraulic fluid in the #1 system, so we are going to be doing a flapless landing into Calgary today. So that's going to be the challenge here. So I'm going to put 164 as our go-around speed as well, because we don't even have go-around speeds normally calculated for flap 0. And as a result, we don't need a retraction speed, and our climb speed on flap 0, actually, sorry, I do have a climb speed for flap 0, it's actually 154. There you go. So with the flaps retracted, so our approach speed will be 164, with the flaps retracted, our best rate of climb will happen at 154. So we have to go around, we can let the speed decelerate to 154 with full power. Okay, then we're going to also do a distance calculation just to verify that we can do this. We don't really have too many choices, but 3.5 left's a pretty long runway. So, landing distance factor. So using the flap 35 chart. So I've got to go ahead and calculate my unfactored landing distance for abnormal configurations. It's a really small, tiny little chart here. Okay, Calgary. Let's see, at least we have a cold day. Say 0 degrees basically. 0 degrees, and the elevation in Calgary is about 3,500 feet. Pressure altitude 3020. It's a little bit higher, but we'll say basically 3,500. so unfactored landing distance, beginning with 62,000 pounds, just a little under 62,000 pounds, going up to about 3,500. Losing myself here. And basically where that line is, okay, assuming no headwind, which we've got a very strong headwind today, but I'm going to kind of take it worst case scenario and say there is no headwind. And no runway slope. The unfactored landing distance of this aircraft is about 27, let's run up to 2,800 feet. And then we can just grab our calculator. We even have one on a cell phone. Everyone's got a calculator somewhere nowadays. 2,800 times 2.65. That is the flap 35, right? Yeah, that's the flap 35. 7,420 feet is our factored landing distance. So we need 7,420 feet to land this airplane. We are dealing with, in Calgary, a fairly long runway. While I'm here, I'm just bookmarking the rest of the things that I need for today. That one. So it's 10,000 plus, I'm pretty sure, without looking at it. I'm just going to get rid of these because I don't need them anymore because we left Saskatoon behind. So 17, or right, 12,000 feet. So we need 7,000 feet to land. So we should be able to land and stop this airplane on the runway. Mostly I'm going to try to use reverse. I'm going to try to avoid using the parking brake. In real life, I would use the parking brake and I would pull it halfway. But this, as you can see, it only has full or none. Only 2 settings for the parking brake, so we're going to have to deal with that as best we can. Alright, there we go. So that is basically the speeds and the distances. So this runway is sufficiently long in Calgary, and we do have speeds for the approach, 164 for our VREF, and 154. If we have to do increase ref switch on, that goes up even higher. So here's hoping we don't have to turn the increase ref switch on, because then the speed will go to, it's going to be another 50 knots, 179 will be our approach speed. Can't even throw the plane below flight idle until we get to below 160 knots, according to the checklist. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. I'm going to try not to pop the tires on landing. I may have to use the parking brake periodically and risk popping the tires. If that's what it takes to stop the airplane safely on the runway, it's a decision we'll have to deal with. Okay. Hope you guys are enjoying this. This is, it's definitely working my brain a little bit here. I haven't had to deal with an emergency for quite some time, so. Okay, now we'll go and settle into some of the normal stuff. We're just going to set up, we're just going to review the approach here, make sure it's all set up, make sure that our approach is in there. So first of all, we're going to go to our arrival here in Calgary, and just make sure that we've got all of our fixes in here. Burco at or below 16,000. So I'm going to pull this up right here. Give me 1 second while I just take control of that. Okay, and then I can do... There we go. Alright. So, Burco at or below 16,000. It's not in there. Ebdic at max 250 knots, and then Libux at 8,000 is a hard one at 210 knots. 210 knots at Mataf after that, and then the Vector, course 165 Vector until we get vectored around to the ILS. I'm not going to bother setting the 16,000, but what I will do now is see if I can get that, let's see here, Libux at 8,000 restriction in there. And there it is. And we got 12 minutes till our topper descent. One thing we're going to want to do as well on this one is go out further than we normally would, just to give us more room to descend. We don't really need to go that much further because we're not going to be deploying the flap so much, but we probably want to give ourselves a little bit more room to make sure we are stable and decelerated before we ever get to the glide slope, because we're going to have a hard time slowing down because we can't deploy any flaps. The gear is the only thing we're going to put out there that's going to slow us down. Okay, so that's in there. The other thing we're going to need, of course, is the approach itself, which I didn't actually check off here. So the ILS to 3.5 left. By the way, also doing this to Calgary on a snowy day, it would depend on the runway conditions as well. Obviously, if the runway was contaminated at all, we would not even consider this. We'd consider diverting to somewhere that does not have a contaminated runway. Because the contaminated runways are not really modeled in the sim, we can do this. So the ILS 35 left in Calgary, 111.5 and 345. So 111.5. 111.5, and for some reason I can't change from this side, so there you go. 111. There we go, 111, come on. Can't find the click spots for this today. 111.5, there we go. And then the inbound course of 345 is the other thing we got to set here. There we go, 345, the inbound set. And on this side we can just switch him to nav source because he's not the active nav source. And then we can just see over there. It's a little bit hard to see in the corner. It's hard to see. Trust me, I can see it clear enough on this screen. I realize it's a little bit hard to see. There we go, if I do that, yeah. Okay, good, 345. Okay, so we got those set. The minimums for this approach here is the other thing we need to pull off that chart. So the Cat 1 minimums here, ILSDA of 3742. So we're gonna go ahead and set that here. 3742, which means that Calgary field elevation is about 3,500. 3742 becomes 3750. Always round up to give yourself a little extra margin of safety. And then, yeah, we'll set the landing elevation to 3,500 here. And when we did the 10-ups, we never did turn the SAS seatbelt sign off. So we're going to go ahead and turn those off now. We'll probably turn the prop heat off for now. Might need it by the time we get into that cloud there, but we'll turn it off for a couple minutes. Okay. Whew. My mind is spinning. Nothing like an emergency to really get your thinking cap on, right? And that's what I'm doing right now. Oh, my thinking cap is on. So number 1 hide ISO valve closed. It didn't really do much because there was no fluid left in the system to divert to anything. The number 1 engine hide pump shut off itself when there was no fluid left. The inboard spoilers don't work, and the number 1 red hide doesn't work. Lots of systems are related. The hydraulics are really are critical systems on this airplane. As electrical and hydraulic are the critical systems on this airplane. Failures in those systems can quickly add up. There's enough redundancy that nothing is unreasonable, unhandleable, but they can be important failures. The electrical system's got a little bit more redundancy built into it than the hydraulics, just because you can have a lot of generators that are hooked together in different ways. As far as hydraulics, because it's plumbing, it's a little bit harder to hook up redundant systems. So bump that power up a little bit because we can go a little closer to the red line here. There we go. Yeah, but either of those two systems, they are critical to a lot of other subsystems within the airplane. So failures of hydraulics and electrical in the dash can be serious. Okay, I think we're ready for an approach briefing. I want to be ready plenty early today. Whenever you've got an emergency, you want to make sure everything is ready, you're done early, so that if extra things happen, they're not adding on to your workload. So, let's do it. Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
No, do not close prepared. Jesus. Oh, Lord. Alright, we obviously have a abnormal situation going into Calgary. We have no flaps. We have lost hydraulic number 1 system, the biggest implication being no flaps, also no anti-skid brakes on the runway. That's going to have a very big implication for landing distance more than anything else. That's going to be a very fast approach, like 40 knots faster than you're used to seeing. So be ready for that, maybe even faster if we need the increased ref switch on. Here's hoping we don't again. I also have lots of extra fuel to play with. I have 40 minutes of extra fuel to play with. If it really looks like that dicey on final, we can do the go-around and divert to Edmonton, which is supposed to be nicer weather. I haven't actually checked it recently, and so that's something you could ask your dispatcher to help you with, or you can get it yourself through the ACARS. Edmonton is a lot nicer. The winds are not gusty. Scattered clouds, 20 miles visibility. So definitely, if things do not look like they're going well in Calgary, we can divert to Edmonton. We have lots of extra time. Here's where I can show you now also the fuel page. So this page is okay. This page is really useful when you really are sort of facing problems. Really quickly, all the math is done for you. You're required to get to Calgary. Here's what we have on board over at Calgary. We're going to have this much reserved of this much. The bottom line is really what you want to know. 2,500 pounds of excess fuel. We have over 1 hour of excess fuel upon arrival in Calgary. So we have time to do a go-around. We have time for a slow setup, time to do a go-around, and still think about going to Edmonton without having to worry about running out of fuel on the way to Edmonton. So we have lots of fuel, but that's page 3 of the fuel chart. Whenever you're dealing with things like holds and whatnot, this bottom line right here. This is why we put the excess 0 on fuel page 1. We put the extra 0 here, because if we put the extra there, it would be included in our reserve number, and then we wouldn't have it showing. So this is how much extra fuel I have beyond the bare minimum. I have to go to Edmonton if I reach this fuel, 2,700 pounds, 2,800 pounds essentially, and you may want to round it up just for you know, the sake of comfort. That is the absolute bare minimum. You cannot go below 2,800 feet and still make it legally to Edmonton with your 45-minute reserve. But here's our extra. We have this much extra that we can play with in Calgary before we have before we're committed to Calgary. We won't make it to Edmonton. So we can definitely do an approach there. If it really looks dicey, we can do a go around and come back and try again, or defer to Edmonton. So let's play it that way. Given the weather in Calgary, part of me wants to go to Edmonton right off the bat. It's a bit farther away. It would make this delay a little longer. We're going to try this. We're going to try it in Calgary. The company would not put any pressure on you. You know, you make the best decision you can. They'll provide you the information you need, the runway conditions in Calgary, etc., and you make your own decisions from there. Okay, so for the briefing itself, so the speeds we've got set, the distances we've checked, the runway is sufficient in Calgary with a good 5,000 foot margin at least. Charts. We're doing the tow tub for arrival into Calgary on 10-2 Mike, the 25th of April 2019. Safe altitude with 100 miles is 13,800 non-jets only. After, we're going to join it at Burco. And I didn't, but here, let me just do this. Put that page up there. Nope. Okay, so after Burco comes tow tub. We're on our way to Burco now. Tow tub. Burco's at or below 16,000, so we'll start down soon if we need to. I'm going to analyze that in a second. But we are required to be at EBDIC at a max 250 knots, Libux at 8,000 feet at a max 210 knots, and MATEV at a max 210 knots, then a Vector 165 Vector around to an ILS to runway 35 left flapless today. 11-5, 20th September 2019, 111.5 and 345. We got set both sides, glide slope at Bovux 4820. There it is, 4820. ILSDA 3742, we got 3750 set, and the touchdown zone at 3542, 200 feet below the DA. Highest sector altitude is 60. We'll pass briefly through the 6,100 foot sector on our way in there, so we'll have to keep it basically to 6,100 or higher as we turn final. We should intercept final somewhere just inside, or the glide slope just inside of Gavel, so we'll make sure we don't turn any earlier than that because we're not going to be able to hustle down today with only the gear slowing us down. Radar RNAV is required. Safe altitude within 100 miles is 13,800. And sometimes approach is authorized with 3-5 right. Local reliable 10 degree center line. Procedure turns not authorized. Let's see here. 3 degree glide slope. Normal 3 degrees, so we should be able to keep that going down at 160 knots. We need 900 feet per minute pretty much to keep us going down. So we should be able to do that. We should be able to sustain that without gaining too much extra speed, even without flaps. PAPI's on the left, SPLR lighting system. RVR 2600 or a half mile is the minimum requirement. Last I checked, Calgary was looking pretty good. I'll check it again now. Oh, now it's looking actually pretty nice there. The snow has moved out, 15 miles scattered, 1600, no snow left whatsoever. So yeah, I'm going to stick to our plan to go to Calgary. It seems like the weather's moving out, assuming the runway conditions were kept good. At -1, if it was warm, the snow melted, it wouldn't be too bad, maybe a little bit wet. But that's something to definitely consider. It doesn't really play a factor in the sim because we don't really have a runway friction, coefficient. It's always the same basically, regardless of whether it's raining or snowing in the sim. So we're okay with that. Yeah, that's it. So we're going to land on runway 35 left here in Calgary. Initial plan is to try and stop on the runway. Make sure we can stop this airplane. In the real world, we would stop on the runway. We'd get evaluated by emergency services because there's a good chance at 134 knots it could be brake overheats, possible pop tires. So you want to stop, get yourself evaluated, and most likely get towed to the gate, because the thing, again, is the only brakes we have are the parking brakes. If those should fail for any reason during the taxi in, or something happens to the remaining hydraulic systems for any reason during the taxi in, you could end up crashing the terminal building. So most likely in the real world, you would stop. You get the tug to come and tow you off the runway, tow you to the gate. I'm going to see if we can taxi the gate. We have nose wheel steering available. We have the parking brake. I have disking. If we hit the wall at the terminal, I'm quitting anyways. I'm not going to work here anymore anyways. So yeah, we can do that. We can definitely do that. But we'll stop on the runway just to evaluate, make sure, see that we can stop within a reasonable distance, and then we'll slowly proceed to the gate carefully to make sure. Once we land on 35 left and stopped, once we start taxiing in, it's a right turn off the runway. It's probably going to be one of these gates. I'm going to check in a minute on flight aware for a gate. Terrain, again, lots of terrain west of Calgary. East is not so bad. 6100 is the highest MSA we're going to deal with. 13,000 is basically the 25 mile safe, or the 100 mile safe altitude zone. If we stick to the arrival process, the star, it shouldn't be too bad. Oh, did I miss the VMAP path? Oh, jeez. I gotta set a lower altitude here. And arm the VNAV. Don't want to be slow getting down here. I was chatting for too long. So terrain, weather is, looks like the weather's getting better in Calgary. It looks like the snow has moved off, so we're mostly good there. And operational, obviously, we don't have too many issues to deal with. We've got the no flap, no brake issue, so that's our big issue. We've discussed it ad nauseum at this point, I think. So I don't think we need to do too much more. Oh, don't stick too far. There we go, okay. That did a pretty good job of reseating the rudder, actually. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Alright. Whew. I felt like that was a long talk and a long brief. And we're supposed to be Burko below 16,000. I did not really... I didn't have time to really plan this well, so... We'll plead ignorance with ATC. I don't think we're going to be quite below 18,000. We have 6 miles to go. We'll be a little bit above it. We'll be kind of close. Too much going on. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set 3033 over here because that's our altimeter in Calgary, and we're about to transition, so you can set it on the standby. It doesn't really affect your flying, but it's good to have it there as a backup. Wow. I feel like that was a lot of talking. So one quick thing, as I said, I just want to have a quick look here and make sure see what the last gate that this flight went to when it returned to Calgary from Saskatoon. And hey, there is one actually right now airborne. I bet they're not dealing with hydraulic failure in real life. But they are scheduled to go to gate Charlie 51. So that's going to be our plan as well. We're going to go to gate Charlie 51 when we get to Calgary. So next speed restriction is at 250 knots at Epdic. Too much talking. My voice is getting really dry here. Alright, guys. Anyone just joining us, we are on descent to Calgary in the Encore -8. We had a little bit of a problem in our cruise today in that we lost all of our hydraulic fluid from our #1 system. So we're going to be doing a flapless landing in Calgary, guys. This is going to be fun. I hope you guys stick with me for the approach and landing here, because this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a great way to end the series with a good challenge here. So there's transition. So we're going to set 3033 and descent checklist to the line.
Altimeters.
3033 set cross check.
3033 set and cross checked. Fuel balance.
Where should we get that
Check.
rocket on?
Pressurization set. Cabin PA. Standby, I'll be off 1. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival. Thank you. Cabin PA complete. Fasten belt switch. Looks like we're picking up some ice. On. Approach and landing brief.
Complete.
Complete. Descent checklist completed to the line.
Okay, we picked up some ice there as we passed through the clouds, so we've got the ice protection systems are all on, level 3.
1,000 to go. Alt cell.
And we're going to go ahead and set, was it 6 or 8,000 there? It was 8,000, so we're going to go ahead and set 8,000. There we go. I just set a random lower altitude. I didn't actually set it specifically because I was just trying to get the descent started on schedule. I wouldn't want to be too high today. We're going to have a hard time burning off speed, I think, once we start turning on to final. It's going to be, you want to fly when you've got an incident like this, you want to give yourself more room than you normally would. Normally a lot of pilots like to pack it in nice and tight, and controllers are happy to oblige when everything's going well. But when you have an incident like this going on, you want to give yourself all the time in the world that you need. Go out farther than you normally would on a vector. You know, slow the airplane down early. You don't want to end up high and fast when on the approaches that really count. You want to have it. Give yourself all the time you need. Fuel is not an issue today. We have an hour plus of extra fuel, so take your time, go out a little further, give yourself the time you need. You know, don't rush yourself in an emergency. Don't let anyone rush you in an emergency. Don't let ATC rush you. When you're ready, you're ready. Don't start the approach before you're ready. If you're not ready, tell them. Tell ATC. ATC is there to help you. They'll do what they can to help you out. Tell them I need more time. We're not ready. You know, request a vector, request a hold if you like. Anything you can, anything you need. But communicate with ATC what you need. If you need anything specifically, if you need a delay, you know, depending on the situation, there's lots of checklists to run. Hydraulics is one where the checklists are not too bad. If we'd had the number 2 system fail, that would have really required a lot of planning. We would have had flaps, but the annoying one we would have lost would have been gear. And then you got to go run the manual gear extension checklist. That's a whole separate checklist you have to do, you know, when you're about 10 minutes away from landing. You don't want to do it up at cruise altitude. You want to do it closer to the airport where you're not going to burn too much extra gas because you're only going to do it once too. You're not once the gear goes down, it's not coming up again. So you need to give yourself time to run that checklist. This one is not too bad. This checklist, we ran it and it was done. So you know, and other than just recalculating the landing numbers for this situation. Okay, we're going to start slowing at 250 there. It wasn't too much of a problem. Alright, and 10,000. Below the line.
GPWS landing flap. Selected 15 degrees. Fuel transfer. Off. Hydraulic pressure quantity. Check. Caution warning lights. Check. Approach flare lights. On. Ref speed switch. Bugs.
What does it say? Offset.
Offset. FA notification. Complete. Descent checklist complete.
Checked. Having a quick look for one thing while he's finishing his checklist. He's done. I'm trying to remember where the stupid switch is because I cannot remember for the life of me. That's where it is. I could not remember for the life of me. I have not done this in a very long time. Now I remember.
1,000 to go. Alt cell.
Check. That's where the GPWS Flap Override switch is. Now it's on. Now we won't get terrain warnings on final from having the wrong flap setting. Oh my gosh. That would have been annoying.
Checks.
Okay. There's 210. Calgary traffic. Encore 3369 is on a right downwind, runway 35 left. Alright, there's, I don't know why it's not set properly here. I think he was messing with it, wasn't he? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and set that to 6,000. And that's VS minus 1,000. Okay, I looked away for a second there. That's where the GPWS Flap Override switch is. I could not for the life of me remember where it was on this airplane because it's been a very long time since I've ever had to use it. I knew it was somewhere, but I was looking on the panel and like, no, it's not the train inhibit switch, it's not here. Oh, my current airplane is here on the main panel. Okay, still getting ice detected. Hopefully as we get a little lower and below this cloud deck, we'll stop detecting the ice. Alright, so we're going to go all the way out to Gabal there before we even consider turning final here. We're going to give ourselves lots of room for this here. Alright, we got ourselves set to the present heading. We're going to go ahead and just keep 200 knots for now until we turn base. It's going to be weird. I don't know if FS2 crew is going to be able to handle this. I just had a thought.
1,000 to go.
FS2 crew is going to have a real problem with this. I may have to forego some of the FS2 crew on this. Checked. Should be 6,100 actually. I just didn't even think about FS2 crew. FS2 crew is not going to like me doing a flapless landing. I may have to call him for the flaps just to get him to do the checklist. Without the hydraulics moving, the flap lever is not going to do anything except trigger a failure light. Alt star. I'm going to go out just till we're beam Gabal, so another like 2 miles, and then we'll turn a nice long final here. Alright, hopefully we can get that ice increase ref switch off before we turn final, because I don't want to be doing the approach at 179. That would be just ridiculous. Okay. Here we go, guys. Alright, heading 250. There's Alt. And I'm going to go ahead on here and just give us I'm going to just give the direct to Gabal so it sequences past Gabal as we do this. Here we go. Alright, so hide pump's on, but we can't put on the standby hide press, so all we can do is put on the PTU control, which doesn't even do anything because we don't have pressure in the number 1 system, so we can't even do anything with either of those 2 pumps. This is going to be interesting. For those of you, anyone just joining us, we are doing a flapless landing into Calgary this afternoon due to a hydraulic failure here in our Dash 8, so going to be a bit of a fast approach. He may not even deploy the flaps because I'm not going to get the speeds fast enough to get flap 15. One thing I could do, I can set it to flap 10. See if he'll do a flap 10. Join outside Gabal, so we'll just kind of keep it a little bit wide here. Speed already deteriorated a little bit. I can switch to ILS mode here so I can see that localizer when it starts to come to life. Alright, yeah, let's be heading 320. Go ahead and arm the approach. It's probably going to lock in right away. Yep, there's Loc. So 345. And what's the go-around altitude on this approach? I've already forgotten. It is 7,000. Okay, so 7,000. Alright, let's get yourself into position here, because this is going to be one that counts. This will be one of the ages. I'm going to have to make calls that make no sense just to get FS2 crew to do some stuff here, so. Flap 5.
Flaps 5.
It may or may not trigger the flap power caution light. No, it doesn't. Okay. Alright, the glide slope's coming to life here. Calgary traffic Encore 3369 is a 10-mile final runway, 35 left, stopping on the runway. Interesting. The flaps moved. Did you notice that? The flaps moved. Okay. Interesting. Gear down. Oh, I have to unmute him. Gear down.
Gear down.
And he turns on those things, which those should not work. Flap 15 before landing checklist.
Check the speed.
Glide slope.
Check.
Flap 10 before landing checklist.
Flaps 10.
Flap 15 before landing checklist.
Check the speed.
Flap 15 before landing checklist.
Flaps 15. Landing gear.
Down 3 green.
Down 3 green. Condition levers.
Max.
Max. Aux standby P2 pumps. On. Bleeds. On. Min. FA notification. Complete. Flaps.
0 set and 0 indicating. Why are they at 5? They're supposed to be at 0. Indicating 15, plan 15.
Indicating 15, plan 15. Before landing checklist complete.
Checked. Why, oh why? Alright, so now we got it back to 165. We're on the glide slope. It's weird that they went to flap 5. It should never have gone to flap 5. I thought just moving the lever would do nothing but trigger the flap power and flap drive caution lights. Well, we're going to assume that they're up, and we're still going to be doing this approach at the proper speed. It's funny how when you start to play with failures, the discrepancies in the software start to become more evident. Although I thought that the discrepancies were fairly well programmed, and the failures were fairly well programmed in the Majestic Dash 8, so I'm a little bit disappointed. A little bit. Alright. Are we still getting ice detected down here? Why are we still getting ice detected? There's no snow, there's no clouds.
1,000 above.
Checked. Okay, we're going to do 179 then. Unless we can lose that switch in the next minute or so. Guess we're doing approach at 179.
1,000.
Alright, disengage in the autopilot at 1,000 feet as per the checklist. Gonna pop this out because I need to maintain that 179 as closely as possible. Wow, this is fast for a Dash 8.
Too low. Terrain.
I inhibited the...
Too low. Terrain.
Okay, we're gonna inhibit the terrain.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
100 above.
Checked. This is not gonna be pretty.
Too low. Terrain.
Minimums.
Landing.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
Alright, we did get below 160 knots indicated, so we can use the reverse. Ooh, that was a fast approach. As you can see, some of the spoilers look right in front of us there next to the flight taxi switch. The inboard spoilers did not deploy, but for some reason the flaps moved to 5, and they should never have moved at all, which made slowing down a little bit easier. Alright, we could use the parking brake. We're going to rely on disking to stop us here. I'm pushing the brake pedals now just out of curiosity, and that definitely did not work. Definitely the brake pedals don't do anything. But we could use the reverse. We could use the parking brake in partial mode. In the real world, obviously can't do it here on the Majestic Dash 8, but that's okay. But there we go. Ooh, we're just going to set the parking brake for a minute and catch our breath, because wow, that seemed like a really, really fast approach. But it seems like it worked. We did manage to get to, the airplane to stop on the runway and within 7,000 feet. Now mind you, we had flap 5, which we weren't supposed to have. That bugs me. And FS2 crew, I wouldn't have even moved it if I wasn't trying to convince the FS2 crew to do the checklist. I should have just done the checklist myself. Anyways. Are they at flap 5? Yeah, it looks like they're slightly deployed there. So. Okay. And we're going to taxi to gate Charlie 51. We're going to take the parking brake off. Charlie 51. And let's see, where did we stop here? We stopped just before the runway intersection, so we're going to go past the intersection and taxi to Charlie 51. Where's Charlie 51? It's there in Concourse C, so we're going to turn right on Juliet. Whew. I felt kind of high pressure there. Trying to land at this airplane at that speed, it's possible, but boy, she was squirrely. And especially with the 179 with the increased rough still on, having to add 15 additional knots did not make life any easier. In hindsight, the better decision might have been to go to Edmonton. But we made it. We managed to land this airplane. We managed to get off the... Managed to land. We actually stopped it pretty much, I think, in the specified distance, 7,000 feet, give or take. We didn't even make it to this runway intersection, so we definitely did it about 7,000 feet. So that distance prediction was pretty accurate, and that was without using the parking brake, but we had the advantage of flap 5. Just taking it easy, because I'm feeling the pressure from that one. That one really kind of... Whew. I'm still making my head swing a little bit. I haven't had to deal with emergencies much lately. But you know what? It adds an interesting variety. More than just the standard airline flying. Now you gotta go talk to the chief pilot, the transportation safety board. Now comes all the horrible, annoying parts about it. After landing checklist.
Okay.
Taxi, and where's off. Alright, and then we're going to make a right turn on Juliet, taxi for gate Charlie 51. Calgary traffic, Encore 3369 is clear, runway 35 left taxiing Juliet to gate Charlie 51.
After landing, checklist complete.
Checked. Definitely not the prettiest approach and landing I've done. If I have that terrain inhibit on, though, I shouldn't be making any calls out about terrain. Too low terrain, too low terrain. Fortunately, we were VMC, so we could see it. But it annoys me that some of these things that I programmed in there are not working correctly. Probably that GPWS landing flap, or GPS flap override does a little more than just simply turn the light bulb at this point. Ooh, fun times, though. That definitely got me sweating a little bit. Alright, so I believe it'll be the next concourse. We're not going to take the next entry, but the one after that. Where's my chart again here? It's going to be... Actually, no, we'll take Juliet Tango. Yeah, we'll take the next left. Yeah, because it's going to put us just on the other side of that. Yeah, that'll work. And that's just the ice protection off. Not going to be doing any single engine taxi today. If you have a failure, single engine taxi goes out the window because you wouldn't want to turn off the wrong engine. If you've had the failure of the number 2 hydraulic system and you turn on the number 1 engine, guess what? Now you got no systems with hydraulics working. I see them there. The last gate on the left. You can see our GSX ground crew ready to go. Whew, still just feeling overwhelmed by that. That approach was so fast. Something I am not used to at all. Set taxi light to off.
Taxi light set to off.
So no foot brakes, I gotta remember this. Disking is the only thing I can really use to regulate my speed, then parking brake must be set when we get to the gate. Fortunately, disking is very effective in a dash 8. You can use it very well to slow yourself down at a predictable rate. Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Please connect external power.
Roger, connecting the GPU.
Parking checklist to the line.
Taxi light.
Off.
Emergency brake.
Park.
Nose wheel steering.
Off.
Standby P2 pumps.
Off.
Power levers.
Disc.
Captain, the GPU is now connected.
Condition levers.
Start feather.
Transponder.
Standby.
Fasten belt switch.
Off.
Bleeds.
Min and off. Min and off.
Parking checklist completed to the line.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Please connect external power.
Roger, connecting the GPU.
And connect it. There it goes. Nope. Give it a second. Turn it on. There it is.
Captain, the GPU is now connected.
Thank you. Below the line.
External power APU.
External power is on, APU is off.
Condition levers.
Fuel off.
Lights.
Set.
Emergency light switch.
Off.
Standby aux main battery master.
Batteries off.
Parking checklist complete.
Nothing quite like that
Checked.
exhale when you finally get to the gate after having had something go wrong and you know you've done it successfully. I'll be the first to admit that wasn't the prettiest landing in the world. I'm not used to approaching with a Dash 8 at 170 knots. Not at all. And the fact that he deployed the Flap 5, that the Flap 5 successfully deployed, really annoyed me. Hopefully, yeah. Anyways, we kind of ignored that. I did my best to try and mash. The trouble was I had to mash FS2 crew into the emergency, so I did my best to kind of mash the two together and make FS2 crew do as much of the normal checklist as he kind of needed to. Alright, request deboarding, and we're done. Alright, so there we go, ladies and gentlemen. And it says, congratulations on your promotion. My salary has been increased to $20.46 per hour. Please remain on this page while the flight is in progress. I didn't try to change the page. Parties to the agreement. I got a new contract apparently here. Now that I got a raise. WestJet Encore. I'm now appointed to not just junior first officer, but now I'm a first officer. And it's effective from today. didn't want this. Oh no, I hope it hasn't locked me out for 7 days.
Thank you. Good night.
Uh-oh. No. Okay. Maybe I can still take this. Because I didn't necessarily want that raise. Happened to make it finally past the 50 points and earned myself a little bit more time, but I wanted to take a new job, so anyways, the flights are done. All of our flights for the current month are done. We can generate a new schedule, but we're not going to do this because I'm not going to accept my raise from Encore, because it's time to do something new. So I had a quick look here yesterday at the job offers I have for this weekend. A couple of them interested me a little bit. Trans-State Airlines would be a half bad place to work. In and out of O'Hare, a lot of local stuff, and Air Canada Rouge, yeah, not too bad, but a lot of 767 flying. I couldn't do that. So I had a look at my at the offers that I was made here, and I decided that I would like to take a job with Air Transat. So we are now going to change companies, and we are going to, okay, good, so we don't get locked out of that just because we got a raise. We are now going to start working for Air Transat. So I'm excited to do this. Air Transat is not a half bad company to move up to now. The next step, I'll show you their profile really quickly. It's a charter carrier in Canada. It's got about 50 different airplanes. It's a mix of smaller, the 320 fleet, the 330 fleet, and the 737 fleet. The 737 fleet is kind of, I think, being more phased out than anything else right now. Mostly kind of focusing more on the 320, 321, 330 fleet at this point, and also have a few 310s. Can't fly the 310s, but 320, 330, 737, I'm all over that. Interesting route network, definitely a little bit of variety from the Encore route network now. So now a little bit of domestic flying in Canada, back and forth between the major hubs in Canada, but more it's a vacation carrier, so we do a lot of flying from Canada down to Mexico and the Caribbean, as well as a little detour down to Rio de Janeiro there, and a lot of European flying, so a lot of transatlantic flying. So good chance to use the 330 on the transatlantic flights, good chance to use the 320s and the 37s on the Caribbean flights. So it's going to be a different phase. It's going to be some very different flying than what I've done this far. So I hope you guys are going to stick with me for future segments of A Pilot's Life. I'm excited to give this a new try. I'm going to make sure I have all these airplanes lined up to go, 320, 321, 330, and 37s, all in Air Transat colors. I'm going to have those ready to go on my next stream. Might be a couple weeks while I get myself sort of all organized and set up on this, but I'm excited. So thank you guys so much for watching Season 2. I hope you had a lot of fun. I hope you learned something about the Dash 8 while you were watching these videos. I hope I hope you enjoyed the emergency today. It certainly felt like it made me work. Definitely much more so than just your standard airline flight. So this is what we're doing next time. Air Transat, guys. We are going to generate a schedule. I'm going to play with the schedule generation for a little bit here before I definitely pick a schedule. Probably going to pick myself as just a Toronto base for now. Let's see what I get. Here's an example schedule. It may not be the one I stick with, but Toronto, Hamilton, London, Tampa, Verdadero, Puerto Plata, lots of Caribbean stuff. Hit regenerate again, and maybe you'll get some flights overseas. Malaga, Punta Cana, Quebec, Montreal. So I'm going to get some runs through Canada, but then I'm also going to get some runs overseas. Dublin, Lisbon, Tampa. So lots of stuff to choose from. I'm going to have to play with this for a while, toy with my schedule. Don't have a lot of these airports, but it'll be fun to see if I can kind of come up with a schedule where I have most of the airports. In the meantime, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me throughout my career here at Encore. Goodbye to the Dash 8. It's been a lot of fun flying it. It's been a very good airplane. I've enjoyed it a lot, and I'm going to miss it. But on to bigger and better things in a pilot's life. So guys, stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Stay home. Fly your flight simulators to your heart's content. And make sure you subscribe to me on Twitch and YouTube so you can get notified when the next videos come out. Might be a little bit of time before I start up this next stream, but it will come soon. So thank you guys for watching, and be well out there.